What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, and it's episode number 71, part one. More on that in a minute. Tonight, we are reviewing week one of the Bigs 2023 season. What a fun week it was. Glad to be back. Glad to be back in the swing of things. Glad to talk it over with my co-host. Joining me tonight from New Jersey is Mike Haber. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Doing great, Jason. I'm really happy to be getting back into the swing of things here, doing our first review show in what feels like 6 years, but it's really only been like 8 months. Um, but I'm excited. I am also off school this week, so nice and relaxed. And looking forward to getting back into this, I mean, it was a bad week for me, but you know what? It's okay. We're here to talk baseball.
That's right, and it's only week one. There's still plenty of weeks to go. Lots to talk about, lots to look into. Just so everybody knows, so we're doing things a little bit differently this year. We're splitting up the matchups. Mike and I will take 4 matchups of the week, and then Ben and Joe will come on and do the other 4. So we'll see how that goes. But excited to get this going and kick it off. And we are going to kick it off with your matchup against Kostas.
Perfect. Sounds good. As much as I don't really want to talk about it, I am ready to get into it, I guess.
Yeah, it was not a fun week for Kirby's Dreamland, huh?
No, it was
Kostas
not.
did take the 14-6 beating here. Close categories. Kostas wins by 2 wins and 2 saves. You won by 2 walks by a hitter and a loss, and 2 homers by a pitcher, and you guys tied in home runs by a hitter. How are you feeling coming into Sunday?
Like poop. I wasn't feeling good about this. I had 3 starters going on Sunday, and I actually felt pretty confident in all of their matchups, but the problem was like I was down by I was winning by 3 home runs given up by a pitcher, and then obviously the losses were really close. So like really, I was only pitching for the whip, and then he beat me by one
Oh
thousandth.
yeah, actually it was really close too, wasn't it? Yeah, by
Yeah,
0.01. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean that's tough.
I was chasing those wins too, but you know,
Yeah, only down by 2, but that was tough. If you had 3 starters going, trying to get 3 wins is a tall order.
yeah.
Um, Yeah. So on Costas's bench, he goes. Let's see, where's Kostas? Starting with Kostas, who won the week, he went 12 for 62, which is a cool 194 batting average. 9 runs, 4 doubles, a homer, 7 RBI, 6 walks, 13 strikeouts, and 2 errors. None of that really plays.
Yeah.
So good bench week by Kostas this week.
Mhm.
He like there was he has this weird roster construction. We'll take a look at his roster here.
Mhm.
He's got this weird roster construction with Alejandro Kirk and JT Realmuto and JD Martinez. So you have 3 guys, 2 of them are catcher only and one of them utility only. So you're never going to get all 3 of those guys in the lineup at the same time.
Yeah.
And it looks like on what was that on the first, so that was last Friday, he had JD on the bench with a double, a home run, RBI, a big day on the bench from JD Martinez, and that's and there was another day of that. So it's gonna be an interesting to see how he navigates, getting those guys in and out of the lineup. Like even like tonight, Realmuto and Kirk are both out of the lineup for their teams. So like it's gonna be interesting to see how he can put that together.
Yeah, I also think it could be trade bait. I mean, Alejandro, for a lot of the managers probably don't have catchers that they feel particularly
Mm-hmm.
like thrilled to keep all year. So Kirk would be a really nice trade piece for Costas to get something else he needs, and he's safe with Real Muto. So
Yeah, but I mean, we'll get into it, but obviously, he's got Freddie Freeman at anchoring this lineup, which is just scary.
mm,
Yeah, yeah, you're a big fan of Freddie Freeman, aren't you?
no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Um, Looking at his moves real quick, nothing really pops out at me. He did get a nice start from Mackenzie Gore.
Two.
Oh, he got two starts from Mackenzie Gore. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's take a look here. 11 and third, 2 wins. Yeah, 2 really good starts.
Yeah.
From Mackenzie Gore, and I think one of them was here in Denver.
Yep.
And the other one against the Braves. Those were 2 tough matchups, and he did them well.
Yeah, and the Johnny Brito, like that's he streamed him, and that's 2 wins as well. So that's 4 wins that this guy streamed.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like he kept him because Brito got sent down for a little bit, and you had to figure that he was coming back eventually, but I don't know that anybody realized he was going to come back that quickly.
Yeah.
But he held on to him, and he reaped the benefits of that.
Yep.
Let's look at key players for Kostas this week. And yeah, for MVP, I think it has to be Freddie Freeman, right? A 421 average, 511 on base, 9 runs, 4 doubles, a homer, 2 RBIs, 7 walks, and 4 strikeouts. He just kind of killed you, didn't he?
Yeah, he was on base the entire week. Him and Josh Rojas were on base all week.
Yeah. Rojas is interesting because like he doesn't play every day because they set him against lefties, but man, when he's playing, he's on fire.
Yep. I had him last year. He's fun and he's so underrated. So
I really like him. As soon as the Diamondbacks picked up Longoria, I was like, okay, there goes some of his playing time. But as long as he's got that long part of the platoon, I like him.
Yeah.
Least valuable hitter for the week for Kostas, we're gonna go with I don't even know how to say his first name, but Montero from the Rockies. He didn't really do too well this week. Buck 82, averaging on base, just an RBI and 5 strikeouts. And he ended up dropping him midweek. He just didn't really perform well.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why he even needed him or Matt Vierling. Like, I don't know why he needed Vierling or Montero with DJ and Rojas, and he's got plenty of third base options there. So
yeah, I mean the Vierling thing is interesting because he's third base and he has all 3 outfield. That's an interesting eligibility combination. But first of all, he plays on the shitty Tigers, and he's not that great. But so you just have him as kind of a guy to plug in there when one of these other guys is out of the lineup. You can plug in, almost anywhere.
Yep.
At least until Tatis comes back.
Yeah.
From the pitching side, we talked about the Cy Young Award. We talked about Burrito here. I'm going to call him Burrito because I think that sounds better. A .9 ERA, a .8 WHIP, 10 innings, 2 wins, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, no homers allowed. Yeah. You think this kid is a mainstay now in the rotation for the Yankees?
At least until we get any of our other pieces back. Yeah. Until we get Rodon and Montas and I think this guy's here to stay because Domingo Germán's been bad. Clark Schmidt has been bad.
Yeah. So
what else do we have besides Cole and Nestor? Yeah.
And even when Rodon gets back and Montas, I think Severino. I mean, there's a lot of guys that will fit in here, but I think they have to make room for this kid as long as he's pitching the way he's pitching. Absolutely.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cy Young, Kyle Finnegan, who is I guess the closer for the Nationals, but 4 1/3 innings, a loss, a save, 3 homers allowed, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 14.54 ERA and a 2.54 WHIP over 5 relief appearances. Yuck. That's gross.
Yeah. I was really happy to see this guy come into any game this week.
Yeah. Did he have any? He had what?
He got a save.
2,
he got
3.
1 save.
Yeah. One save and a couple of scoreless appearances, but this was not good. A 1.35 ERA there on the 4th. That's not good.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun one.
Let's shift on over to your team.
If we must, Jason, if we must.
And we must because you know what? This is part of the show.
You're correct.
Uh, on your bench this week, you went 21 for 80, which is a 263 batting average. 17 runs, 6 doubles, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, 4 steals, 8 walks, 11 strikeouts, and an error. Where do you want to start?
With the next matchup.
Wrong answer.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, the bench stats were bad. I feel like for week one, they usually are bad because like you don't really know what you have. And like
Yeah.
I didn't know how long I wanted to hold on to Seth Brown. Like, and I had traded Ruiz to you. So like I had to keep him all week. So he was just accumulating bench stats. And I was doing the rotating right fielder thing for a bit. And so they added up. And I feel like I always kind of made the wrong decision every day, but
yeah, I mean, right. The Kostas and the McCutcheon and the Bryant, like that kind of dynamic is going to be interesting to see, how that goes all year. But I mean, it's
well,
one week.
When Bryce Harper gets back, that all of those guys
Oh,
go
true. Yeah.
away. So
Yeah. That becomes even more interesting.
Yes.
Your ads this week. Anything that you want to hit on?
I think Nolan Gorman was the best ad of the week for me.
Agreed. Either that or Josh Fleming.
Oh God. I was hoping we could get through this entire segment without mentioning his name, but we cannot.
No, we couldn't do that.
We cannot. I mean, I'm happy with the McCutcheon pickup because I think that's a good guy to have who gets on base and walks, and that's why I got him.
And who knows? Maybe he's back in Pittsburgh, like he's revitalized as kind of like a send off in his career back in his old his old team. Who knows? Maybe he does something well.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's between him and Kostas. All they have to do is hold down the fort until Harper gets back. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Seth Brown was a waste. Like this was just, I don't know.
Yeah. Max Kepler
I added for a day.
Yeah, he went over 5 with a strikeout that day.
Yeah, that was opening day.
Okay, gotcha.
I was like, guys, I'm so smart. I've got Correa, Miranda, and Max Kepler. The Twins are going to score a ton of runs, and then I think they got shut out, and Kepler was 0 for 9 or whatever. I don't know.
Let's talk about some good stuff. Let's talk about your MVP, who, of course, is going to be Vlad, right? Yeah. 439 average, a 510 on base, 9 runs, a double, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a steal, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts, and an error. I mean, that's what you're going to get from Vlad, right?
Yeah, he pretty much did what Freeman did for Kostas. So the two of them kind of like at least cancel each other out.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like in the draft, like those two first basemen would, like, which one do you take? It's either Vlad or Freeman, right? I feel like that's like they're the top 2 first basemen, and like Andres Goldschmidt too, I guess. But like I don't know, I feel like these are the two that, like, okay, do I take Freeman 3rd overall? Do I take Vlad 3rd overall? Which one do I go with? And so it's fun to see both of them do well against each other the first week.
Yeah, it's true.
Least valuable player, Carlos Correa. 182 average, a 250 on base, 2 runs, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, 3 walks, and 10 strikeouts. And now he's hurt. So I know a lot of Met fans are going, and probably Johnny fans too. But how are you feeling about Correa?
I mean, I was pretty like low on him going into the year, but I'm happy where I drafted him because it was definitely great value. I mean, he fell to me. And whatever he's hurt with right now is like mid back issues. It's not supposed to be serious. He was available to pinch hit today. He didn't, but he was available. And as of right now, I'm at least covered with Semien and Gorman take care of my middle infield. But like, I don't know. I don't have high expectations for Correa, and I didn't going into the season. So, whatever he can get me, I guess, is gravy. But I wouldn't be shocked if he was hurt like 4 out of 6 months of the year. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, as long as Gorman put up a good week. So as long as he's getting playing time and he's, in the middle of that Cardinals lineup, there's opportunity there for you.
Yeah, for sure.
On the pitching side, we're gonna hit on Anthony DeSclafani, who had a good start. That was just Sunday, right?
Yeah, that was a big pickup for me too.
Yeah. 6 1/3 shutout inning, or 6 1/3, 7 strikeouts, a 1.42 ERA, and a .47 WHIP. No decision, which was tough, but a great start nonetheless.
Yeah, and actually he gave up 1 run. He pitched incredibly, but I guess whoever he went against on the Royals pitched a little bit better, and so he was in line for the loss. And that would have like lost me another category, but I think the Giants scored in the bottom of the 9th, something like that. So it saved me the loss there.
I'll tell you what, who he went against the Royals was Chris Bubich, which was an ad from your brother. So we'll hit on that in a little bit. Your Cy Yuck, Jimmy, not Joe Bob, Herget. 3 2/3 innings, a loss, a homer, 2 strikeouts, a 7.36 ERA, and a 1.64 WHIP over 4 relief appearances. I guess he's not the closer. He's got 3 holds.
Yeah, at the moment he's not, but I'm gonna hang on to him for the time being because that bullpen is kind of all over the place. And I don't think anyone has been great in the Angels bullpen. So I'm just gonna hold on to him. I'm actually kind of like glad that you guys gave Herget the Cy Yuck, because I feel like I had like some awful pitching performances this week.
Well, I mean, Josh Fleming definitely has to be in the consideration.
Yeah, and Cueto.
I mean, especially, Cueto, but especially like considering that Fleming went against the Nationals, like that's a game you expect like that should be a slam dunk, and it was not.
No, he was horrible.
Yeah, but then he came back and threw 4 shutout innings in relief today. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I hate fantasy baseball. Anyway.
And Cueto lasted all of 1 inning, and then he's probably gone for at least like 2 months or something with a biceps injury. Yeah, not good.
No.
All right, so again, it's 1 week, but how you feel?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like on paper, I feel like I have the pieces to be a playoff team here, but like in reality, to start the season, like if Correa is hurt, Travis d'Arnaud just hit the IL with concussion. Musgrove like fell on his shoulder like during a rehab start, so his return is delayed by a couple days. Verlander is Verlander. Soroka, like these are pieces that I'm really excited about. And when I get Verlander and Musgrove and Soroka into this rotation to join George Kirby and DeSclafani, who I guess is my number 2 at the moment, and whatever Jack Flaherty does, I actually like the rotation if we add those 3 pieces in. And then adding Bryce Harper into the lineup, like, and eventually getting d'Arnaud back. It's what I drafted for, but as of right now, it's like, oh my God, I guess I don't even want to follow like the nightly stuff that's going on. Like,
Well, while we're talking about pieces being added, how do you feel about adding AJ Puck and Clark Schmidt to your pitching staff? Because that is a trade that went down. The first trade of the big season. Let's get into that for a minute. That's the first big trade of the year. Is between you and me, and I know I had said that I was hellbent on not making a trade at least until like the first month or two of the season, and I couldn't make it past 1 week.
Nope, you couldn't.
No,
and I think I'm quoted on one of the episodes as saying like, you're not going to get past the first week. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I feel like that was a goal of yours, was to make sure that happened, but it did. And we'll get into the return for me, but what drew you into Puck and Schmidt?
Well, at the time I was excited about Schmidt given what he did during spring training, and the decimated Yankees rotation. Like, I was excited about that, but his first 2 starts have been horrible. So we'll see what that. I think I'm going to give him 1 start, and then if he's just as bad, like, he's hitting the waivers, and it is what it is. I mean, the reason why I made the trade was for Puck, so I'm happy to kind of lock down the Marlins back end. Granted, they're not a very good team, but when they get saves and when they win, they usually win in close games. So like, I'll take Dylan Floro and AJ Puck like to back that up. So I think that it shores up my bullpen more than it was at the start of the season, because now I've got Fairbanks, I've got the Marlins, and until Hendricks gets back, I've got the White Sox. So I've got 3 teams where I can generate saves.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to kind of patch it together, especially because we documented it in the draft. It took a while for you to pick a reliever, so you kind of patch it together, and I think it's really strong right now.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, SGRE Ruiz would have been a nice piece, but I've got Mullins, who plays pretty much every day. They don't give him a lot of time off, and like, that's my center fielder. So I'm just. I know that it's a steals threat guy that you can use on your team. But he and Mullins are very similar players. So
yeah. And look, I mean, I have my center fielder in J-Rod, but for me, Ruiz, just like you said, is that steals threat where if I'm, if I see that steals are close, maybe I play this guy in a utility spot, and somebody that isn't going to steal the base from me. And then the other piece was Reed Detmers, who has had 2 starts this year. They haven't been great, but I know I like this kid. I like the Angels this year, so I'm happy to add that kind of. He's a lock in the rotation, so I'm happy to have that in my rotation as a guy who I know is going to take the ball every 5th day or every 6th day.
And you know what? He threw 5 shutout innings against Toronto, and then he gave up a grand slam in that 6th inning, and that was the runs that he gave up. And then, he pitched really well in that game. So
he's striking guys out. So as long as he's doing that, then I feel comfortable having him. And look, losing Puck, and I also lost. We'll get into my team in a little bit, but I lost Andres Munoz too. So I lost 2 relievers in the span of a couple of days. Yeah. But I like the return that I got back.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. But
right.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next matchup here, and that's going to be actually your brother taking on newcomer Henry Collins, and Josh takes a loss here. Let's put this up on the screen.
Yeah, so this is a 12-9 loss to the newcomer, Henry Collins. This was a fun matchup to watch because this it changed a lot throughout the week, but and it still ended close. But
yeah. No, yeah, I was watching this too, and I felt like I was on a roller coaster watching the score going up and down and back and forth, and leads changing, and it was wild.
Yes. And look at these 2 offenses. They both had awesome weeks. But let's get into these close categories here. For Henry, who wins the week. He wins by 2 home runs by a hitter, 4 strikeouts by a hitter, and he wins by the 1 error. I guess you could also say, given the RBI, given the offense here, like those 5 RBIs are kind of close as well.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And that's it. Josh wins by 2 doubles, a triple, 3 walks by a batter, 3 saves, 2 home runs given up by a pitcher, and 2 walks given up by a pitcher. These 2 teams were close. They did not tie in anything though, even though they were that close. That ERA race was nuts getting down to it.
Yeah, it was interesting to see what either of them would do, on the Sunday, to try and nab that, and looks like Josh was able to fend it off.
Yes. Henry on his bench this week, Henry goes 19 for 77, which is a 247 average. He leaves 5 runs, 4 doubles, 1 homer, 2 RBIs, 2 steals, 4 walks, 22 strikeouts, and an error. The only thing that really plays here are the 4 doubles that definitely would have flipped that category there. And a lot of it was Bryson Stott, who was left on the bench. But when you have Andres Jimenez scoring 11 runs in a week, like
yeah, and I was following this matchup, and he had trouble getting Stott into the lineup. Just like you said, he has Jimenez and he has Adames. So where you're playing him, the one time he played him, he went 1 for 4 and struck out. So but every time he was on the bench, I mean, he was on fire. I mean, for the week, for the season so far, he's been at 429. So he's been a hitting machine, just not the one time that he got him into the lineup.
Yeah. He's got a 10-game hitting streak, 9-game hitting streak, something like that.
Yeah.
But could not get him into the lineup here. So those doubles would have helped, and then the 4 walks would have flipped that category as well. Nothing else really plays. As for his ads this week, Henry didn't use a ton of them until the Saturday, Sunday. None of them were really that impactful here. He was playing a little bit of catcher roulette with the Danny Jansen, Eric Haas, Jacob Stallings, Mike Zunino, Ryan Jeffers. He had a bunch of catchers he was trying out here, which I guess if you think about it, it is something that a newer manager would do, right? Using all these ads on the catchers where you're not really chasing anything else from a pitching perspective, but
right. I mean, right. And in a league like this, you can kind of do that because there's always going to be the Ryan Jeffers, the Mike Zuninos. They're going to be rotating in and out of lineups until, if any of them get hot. That's not true, but for right now, you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. Until you find one that sticks, and then you can ride that out for a bit.
This Franchy Cordero ad is interesting to me because I don't know. I feel like if he's hot, why wouldn't the Yankees try and get this guy into the lineup more often than not? He's got good eligibility. It's he's shown he can hit before, so this could be an interesting pickup for him. He picked him up Sunday after the Bells, so he didn't get any stats from him, but we'll see. We'll see what turns out there.
I prefer him to Aaron Hicks any day of the week, so I'll take it. So let's go through his key players here. For Henry, his most valuable player, it was not even a question, was Matt Chapman, who just had a ridiculous week. And I know Josh, he was so fed up with this guy. And he did hit that grand slam off of Detmers on the Sunday. But for the week, Matt Chapman hits 500 with a 550 on base. He scored 7 runs, 7 doubles, 2 homers, 14 RBIs, a steal, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts, and an error. That is That
I
is
mean,
on.
just when you think like, okay, yes, I mean, he put up an incredible week. Oh, he also chipped in a stolen base. Like, when is Matt Chapman stealing bases? Like, when he
Yeah,
is hitting 500, that's when.
yeah, yeah. He just did it all this week. He was unstoppable, and he did it all.
Yeah.
Um, we're gonna give the least valuable hitter to Bryson Stott just because he could not figure out when to get this guy in the lineup. And if he had gotten him in, like that would have been super helpful.
Yeah, it would give him at least another category.
Yeah, for sure. Um, his from the pitching perspective, I mean, we have to talk about Garrett Cole here. He
Yeah.
was on another planet this week. He goes 12 and a third, 2 wins, um, 5 walks, 19 strikeouts, a 0.73 ERA, and a 0.89 WHIP.
Disgusting.
Like this is when you have 4/5 of our rotation out, like this is what you get. But he can do it. He can do it
That's why he's
himself.
an ace.
That's why he's an ace. Um, for his Cy Yuck this week, we've got a few names here on the list. We can highlight Andrew Heaney, who was disgusting, or Carlos Carrasco, who was disgusting twice. And Ross Stripling was also very bad and gave up
Yeah.
five home runs. So
Yeah, and the interesting about Stripling is that he was really bad his start against the Yankees, and then they put him in relief on Saturday, and he was awful in relief against the Royals. So,
yeah.
it wasn't a good week for Ross Stripling.
No. And we just recently saw Andrew Heaney and Carlos Carrasco get booted from this team. So
Yep. Yep.
he's
Look at these ERAs. These are awful.
yeah. Yeah. And Heaney, I mean, who know, he was just picked up, I think, by Joe, maybe,
Yeah.
for the start against Kansas City today, which I think went pretty well. But who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
this is a guy
5 shutout innings, 10 strikeouts.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, maybe this is a guy you should have held on to. I mean, who knows?
I mean, you
Um,
probably don't start him for this to start against the Astros, but against the Royals, you absolutely do start him.
yeah, who would start anyone against the Astros like I did
I,
today?
I mean, there are very few pitchers who are starts against anybody. I don't know. Would you start Garrett Cole against the Astros?
Yeah, 100%.
There you go.
Yeah, but I wouldn't start Ronzi Contreras, and I did that today, and it ruined my week already. So,
Oh, that's cool.
but that's
Good
for
job.
next week. Let's switch things over here and talk about Josh's team. On his bench, Josh went 12 for 43, which is a 279 average, 9 runs, 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts, and an error. I mean, the runs would have at least made it close, I guess. But really, it's those 3 home runs and 10 RBIs that are significant. And
Yeah.
he would have had to have been perfect. Like it would have been tough to get
Like,
all of those in.
yeah, like we look real quick. Like I know Monday, the third. I know he had a home run on the bench.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
it was Laureano.
Laureano.
Yeah,
But you're not starting him over Castellanos, and
right,
Tristan Casas hit a home run that day anyway. So
right.
maybe you don't start Garrett Mitchell, but Garrett Mitchell had been having a good year, so a good week. So it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, you can't really complain given what he did offensively.
Right.
Like, I mean, 14 home runs and 53 RBIs, 24 doubles. Like,
That should win
yeah,
a week.
that should do it. And it's
Yeah.
not like he was playing the wrong guys. He just had a surplus of players that he couldn't get them all in.
Exactly.
Um, for his moves this week, Josh was busy. He was busy. He added a ton. He used all of his ads, all 12, but he
Yep.
actually used 15, which is interesting because Those ads before before opening day do not count.
Don't count. Exactly. Yeah. I thought it was interesting on Sunday. He picked up Rengifo and Profar, two guys who I dropped. So I texted him and I said enjoy my rejects.
Yeah, I mean but that's what we do. We enjoy each other's rejects.
That's right. I also maybe I'd love to get his reaction about this Cutter Crawford start that he picked him up for. And actually, I think we'll talk about him in a second. But I'd love to know what his mindset was, because it was awful against the Pirates, and I'm sure he went into that start with high expectations, and it did not work out.
Yeah, I mean you're streaming it. If you're gonna make those streams, you're streaming pitchers that are starting against the Pirates and the Tigers and the Marlins and the Nationals, who we talked about earlier, and every once in a while it's gonna be a blow up. So, any other notable ads here? I mean, he did after the bell. He, like you mentioned, he added Profar, which I think is an interesting move.
And then he did hit a home run yesterday, but it was it didn't count for him. But and he's 1 for 1 today so far with an RBI. So I don't know. I was getting impatient. Maybe I cut cords with him too soon. But he's been awful all week. So I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. No, definitely. He also didn't have a spring training, right? So
right. Aside from the World Baseball Classic, which but
right.
like he was probably negotiating a contract while he was playing for the Netherlands. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked the Dre Jameson ad at the time, because I wasn't sure what was happening with the Diamondbacks bullpen, but now Jameson is going to be in the rotation. So who knows what you're getting with that. The other notable thing I want to mention is that he did drop Edward Cabrera, who it's sad because that's his 16th round pick. He was an up and comer. I had him last year. He was great last year, but he has been unable to find the strike zone here. So I think Josh was just ready to cut ties.
Yeah, that start against the Mets the other day was just, it was great for me, but yeah, I mean, like 13 walks to six strikeouts is just that's not what you want.
It's not, and guys just aren't chasing, and that's what we're seeing right now, is that they're just not chasing.
Yeah.
Getting into his key players here, for his most valuable hitter, I guess we're going to talk about Xander Bogaerts, given his batting average. I mean, Yordan Alvarez had a ridiculous week as well, but we could talk about Bogaerts here. 324 average, 422 on base, 9 runs, 3 doubles, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 7 walks, 5 strikeouts, and an error. His least valuable hitter was Tristan Casas. He got him in for 1 home run, but otherwise a .091 batting average, a 160 on base, 2 runs, a double, a homer, 4 RBIs, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts.
That home run and the double might be the only hits he got this week.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the Red Sox were scoring a lot of runs at the beginning of the week. I guess this guy just wasn't a part of it.
Yeah, and he was in the lineup. I mean, he was only been out of the lineup twice this entire week, but he just couldn't make anything happen.
Yeah, he couldn't. I mean, also notable here is Yordan Alvarez with the 3 homers and 14 RBIs.
I gave it to Bogaerts because of the 3 doubles, and Josh won by the 2 doubles, so I feel like that kind of gave him a leg up. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Alvarez had just a bonkers week.
He did, and you got to give credit to Castellanos too for those 6 doubles.
Yeah.
So.
Good for Josh. It was like Castellanos, like that's all he did. It was 6 doubles, 6 runs, 6 walks, and 16 strikeouts. Yeah. So I was like, that's brutal.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it goes to show that you can have a 351 on base percentage and still strike out 16 times in a week.
That's true. That is a good point. Pitching wise, let's go with a little Dustin May for his Cy Young. 13 innings, a win, 3 walks, 9
Really good.
strikeouts. Yeah, a 0.69 ERA and a 0.62 WHIP. So a great start to the season for Dustin May. The
And
fear
both
is
of those
that
came
his,
against Diamondbacks.
what'd you say?
Both of those came against Arizona.
Yeah, yeah. The hot hitting Arizona Diamondbacks, so pretty impressive. But the only fear here is that his innings are capped or limited or whatever you want to say there. The other name I want to point out here that Josh will stand by, and he probably would be mad at me if I didn't mention him, is Graham Ashcraft. That was not a Freudian slip right there. Who pitched great in his one start for last week for Josh. Also pitched great against the Braves today.
Yeah, he did.
So Josh believes in this guy, and
Named his team after him.
yeah, and we've been like pooping all over him. So maybe ass hat is real.
How about Penn Murphy here? Throws 5 innings, no runs, but still manages to get 2 losses and 5 batters and get 2 like what a mixed bag, right? For this guy.
Yeah.
Like
that
he
is
was all over the map.
That is the worst luck I've ever seen. But he got 7 relief appearances in 1 week. Like, are you kidding me?
And they were good for the most part, but he went up with 2 losses, like without giving up an earned run. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, I don't know either. But without Penn Murphy, he's at 20 relief appearances, and Henry at 19, so it's a lot closer.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts here?
Let's hit on Cutter real quick.
Yes.
That Cy Young start.
Yeah, that's Cy Young, 4 innings. Cutter Crawford here, 4 innings, a loss, 3 home runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, a 15.75 ERA, and a 2.50 WHIP. That came against the Pirates.
Of course, his next start came yesterday against the Tigers, and he was great. So again, you just never know.
Yep. You never know. Thoughts on this matchup here?
Yeah. Look, great job by Henry taking down a seasoned veteran like Josh in opening week. As a newcomer to the league, and I think Josh. You tell me. I don't know how he's feeling, but I'm sure he feels bad. But I feel like he shouldn't be panicking. It's 1 week, and he played it well. He just got a little bit outplayed. The guy didn't do well for him, but he did the right things.
He did, and like we said earlier, like scoring 40 runs and 14 homers and 53 RBIs, and like even that 260 average, like you think that should play most weeks, and like his pitching wasn't horrible. He also like racked up 7 saves. Like this was it by all other measures like a decent week, and he just, like you said, Henry just did it a tiny bit better. But I don't think he's beating himself up over it. It's like you said, it's 1 week, and it was 12-9. It's certainly not as bad of a beating as I took. So
and like again, it was all over the place. Like he was winning 12-9 at one point during the week. So like it was close all week long. Great matchup, fun to watch.
Yep. Yeah. These are 2 good teams. Curious to see where they end up, and I just want to say I think Henry is an awesome addition to our league. Like,
agreed.
He's making moves. He's active. He's pushing the right buttons. He got up to 102 innings in this long week. So like he's doing things, and
he gets it.
He does.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll move on here. And it looks like is it time to talk about my matchup?
It is your matchup, Jason. I keep wanting to say puke and Pete's of Schmidt.
It's a pucking piece of Schmidt.
Puckin Pizza Schmidt, but you have to change your team name now, right?
I did.
Oh, you
I
did.
did.
Okay.
Yep. Uh,
Close one. What is your team name now? I can't. Oh, is that it? Read it and weep.
Read it and weep.
Love it. Love it.
Read it
Yeah.
and weep.
So your team names have been about the players that you've traded.
Yes. Yes. Considering that I wasn't going to make any trades at all, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it here. You take down the 11-9 win over Christian Wood, Pineda Coladas, who I think he's due for a team name change as well, but
Yeah.
I digress. Close categories this week. Not many were close. You had a pretty dominant offensive week here. But let's see, you won the week. So you took down losses. You got one fewer loss than him. You also home runs given up by a pitcher. Oh, you lost that. Okay. Oh, 2 strikeouts by a pitcher. Sorry.
Strikeouts. Yeah.
2 strikeouts by a pitcher. And then Christian beats you with the 2 triples and the 1 relief appearance, which I'm sure.
Yeah. I was kicking myself. Sunday was just a day. Because like I knew I wasn't catching innings. Well, at some point by like Thursday or Friday, like I knew I wasn't catching. He has 106 innings going into like Saturday.
Yeah.
There was no way. And so I knew I wasn't catching wins either because he had all these innings. He was getting all these wins. So I wasn't catching innings or wins, but strikeouts and relief appearances, I felt like I could still get. And so I was going for these guys. Like, I picked up Jonathan Hernandez and I picked up Caleb Ferguson, and they weren't getting into games. I was getting so frustrated because all I needed was the one damn relief appearance, and I wasn't getting it. It was so frustrating, and and strikeouts were close. And I had fucking Dylan Dodd pitching horribly against the Padres Sunday night. Horrible game. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all I need is one damn strikeout from this guy, and he wasn't striking anybody out. They were hitting home runs, they were hitting doubles. He wasn't striking anybody out. Finally, he got a strikeout, and I threw a party because like that was the one that I needed, and it was yesterday was a hard day.
yes, it was.
Because like I had like, I mean, Presley and Abreu and him and like all these guys like I know that they pitched yesterday. They pitched Sunday. I know, like Presley pitched Sunday and Abreu. I didn't think any of them were going to pitch Sunday, honestly. And I had a whole bunch of them come in, and I just needed one more, and I couldn't get it. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, that's the relief pitcher game that we play every week. So it never gets easier predicting this thing. But so let's cover some of these stats here. You guys also tied in errors. On your bench this week, Jason, you went 8 for 57, which is amazing. A 140 batting average, 6 runs, a double, a triple, which actually does not hurt you, so that's good. 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, 4 walks, 14 strikeouts, and an error. But that error is great that you left that on the bench because that would have flipped that category.
That was my good friend Luis Rengifo.
But offensively, like I said, like you had an excellent week, and we're gonna get to Christian kind of putrid offensive display here in a second. But you really did have a great week with that, the 270 average and the 356 on base. Like none of these stats really mattered that much.
Yeah, it was it was getting Logan O'Hoppe in the lineup. I never could get him into the lineup. And every time, but he had a great week. He had 3 home runs. Like the 3 home runs that were on my bench were all him. I just, and every time I got him into the lineup, he didn't hit. So it's it's that catcher game.
It is, but with Dalton Varsho, I mean, you only play O'Hoppe when you need him,
Yeah,
and you didn't necessarily need him. I mean, Varsho had a great week, so it's nothing real. I like we said with Josh earlier, like you still got the production. You just had two players doing it, so you had to leave one on the bench.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, those offensive bench stats were nothing. Your ads this week, you used I don't know how many total,
I use
but
all of them.
all of them I was assuming.
Yep.
Um, Notable ads here. You did add Zach Pleaseack, which I don't think went very well.
It did not. that,
Um,
that was another one. That was against Oakland, and like I was expecting big things, and he got rocked.
yep. And we do see here some of those relief pitchers that you mentioned before that didn't get into games. Interesting here that you dropped Isaac Paredes, who I don't know. Do you regret that move?
I do, and it was early on, and because I got I got the sense that he wasn't going to play much against right-handers,
Okay.
and so I felt like he was on the short side of a platoon, and I just, um, I yeah, if I could take any back, that would be the one because he's been on fire and he is playing more often than not, right now. So he has triple eligibility, which is nice. So. And also the Brian Anderson, like Joe said in our text group, after this guy went off on the Mets, like during that Mets Brewer series, and he
Yeah.
went off, and so he was like, "Who's gonna do it? Who's gonna add him?" And I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna add him because I feel like he's on fire, and he's been awful ever since."
That's how it works, isn't it?
Yep, yep, that's the
Um,
bigs.
and then I see you're also like, I mean, your offense was awesome, but you're playing a little bit of second base roulette.
Yeah, it was while I was waiting for Miguel Vargas to get second base eligibility, which he now finally has, but then he also
Yeah.
got banged up during the week. But like now, I feel like he might be the guy. Um, he's out of the lineup today, so he's not playing today. But like Christian Arroyo is just a guy. Like I like having these guys who are like eligible everywhere that I can
Yeah.
plug in if a guy's out. Like today. But yeah, Miguel Vargas is gonna hold down that spot for probably the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and granted, the guy had a 706 on base percentage, which was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, he just walked every time he was up.
He really did. 8 walks.
Yeah. Um, Nothing else of note. Anything else you want to talk on for your ads here?
No, I was a little sad to have to drop Brian Bayo because I know he's
Yeah, I
coming
know.
back soon from the IL. But losing Munoz to the IL, I didn't want to use up that roster spot. So he was a casualty. But no, and honestly, same thing with Brett Beatty. I didn't want to drop him either. But when I thought for sure that Grayson Rodriguez was going to start the year in the big leagues, and he did not.
Yeah.
I knew that he was closer to joining the big league roster than Beatty was, so
Right.
Beatty
Right.
had to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, all right, let's get into some of those key players for you here. We're gonna give the MVP to Pete Big Meat Alonso.
I
So that's what we're gonna call him now. He
like
Yeah, 237 average, a 326 on base, 8 runs, a double, the 5 homers and 11 RBIs. That's why you draft him. That's what we're talking about here.
that.
Um, 5 walks and 7 strikeouts. Um, let's give some honorable mention though to Wander Franco, who uh, he's back. He's
Yeah,
back. The 351 average and 400 on base, 4 homers, 9 RBIs, 2 steals, 7 runs, 3 doubles, 3 walks, and only 5 strikeouts. Like,
and
that's,
I was like, I was a little nervous when I drafted him because I was like, okay, like, is this the real guy or like is he just a bust? And after week 1, yeah, I'm pretty happy.
yeah, I don't blame you for that happiness. And I was gonna draft him if you didn't. And so I settled for Correa, and we'll see how that story plays out.
Plenty of baseball left to go.
Yeah, plenty of baseball left. Your least valuable player was kind of hard to pinpoint here because you, like we said earlier, you had a really nice offensive week. I think it would be some combination of Profar, who like just sort of frustrated you.
Yeah.
Maybe Nick Gordon, who you thought could be a second base option for you, but didn't do anything. And maybe even Brian Anderson, who you added, who was super hot and didn't do that much. So
Yeah, he's
what do you
been,
think?
like I said, he's been dog shit ever since the Mets left town.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? Who would be your least valuable
Um,
player?
yeah, I think I would either be Profar or Gordon because I really had high hopes for both of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially Gordon, like with all that eligibility, and he was going to play every day. He just never made it happen.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing.
Yeah.
He's batting buck, .91 with nothing. Like he's been just absolutely horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was good last year and he showed flashes of it, but I mean the Twins are just not really scoring any runs right now. So
Yeah, not what I expected.
yeah. All right, from the pitching side here, your Cy Young will give to your good friend, Framber Valdez.
Yes,
12 innings, a loss, a walk, 13 strikeouts, a 150 ERA, a 125 whip. Framber Waves of Grain is back again.
yes, he is.
And your Cy Yuck, we will give it to, we got a couple of young kids here who did not perform very well. Michael Grove is one of them who got lit up, and Dylan Dodd is the other one who got lit up. So I guess let's go with Grove here, who pitched 7 1/3 innings, which I believe is over 2 starts.
It is.
A loss, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, a 14.73 ERA, and a 232 whip, which is not what you want in 2 starts.
Yeah. So like going into Sunday, like I had Michael Grove and I had Clark Schmidt and there was one other starter that I had going into the day that I was like, okay, maybe it was Dodd. It was Dodd. I was like, okay, should I start them or not start them? I almost didn't start them. I almost benched them, but I was like, my ERA was already shot to hell. So I was like, I just need the innings and I need wins and strikeouts. So let me plug them in, and they all got lit up.
Yeah, they did, and but like you said, it didn't really hurt you in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's good to take a chance on those guys. I also want to give honorable mention to Zach Pleaseack, who pitched. We mentioned him earlier. He pitched 1 inning against Oakland, and gave up 7 hits, 6 earned runs, a walk, 1 strikeout, and 1 home run. So,
and then he was great against the Mariners. So go figure. Now he's next starts against the Nationals, and who knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Baseball makes no sense. All right, so let's move over to Christian here. On his bench, Christian goes 16 for 60, which is a 267 average. 8 runs, 4 doubles, a homer, 12 RBIs, a steal, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts, and the error. Obviously, the error on the bench for both of you is very interesting because it would have made a difference either way. But I mean, none of those other stats really play just because you dominated him offensively here. I don't even think the hits the hits wouldn't have done anything. The concern for me here is the 18 walks on the week for Christian in a long week. Like that's tough to do, I think, in a long week.
Yeah, he didn't walk a whole lot.
Yeah. But
I mean, if you look up and down the roster here, like these are guys who don't typically walk. Like, I mean, he had Javi Baez for a while, who he's not going to walk.
Yeah, a bunch of slat hitters.
Yeah, exactly. The Colton Wongs and Tommy Edmonds and
Yeah.
Verdugo and Frazier. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, real contact hitters.
Yeah, and even Abreu, who is a good hitter, but
Hmm.
he's a free swinger. So and Devers, who's a great hitter, but also doesn't really take a lot of walks because he's a free swinger.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess that would be a concern here. But I think there was one day it was Sunday, the first Sunday. Yeah, the first Sunday he went 6 for 11 on his bench, with 3 runs, a homer, 5 RBIs, a walk. He left Adam Frazier on the bench, who went off. He left Jesse Winker on the bench, who went off. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, this was like what, the third or fourth day of the season. Like, you're still figuring out your team at that point. So
Exactly, especially these guys who can play multiple positions. Like, where do I put them? Do I really
yeah,
put Fraser in instead of Edmund? But I can move Edmund to short. There's a lot of mixing and matching, and right to do in day 2 or 3 is a lot to ask.
yeah, yeah, it's tough. That's why, I mean, we mentioned like my bench week at the beginning of the show, but like especially in the first week, you just don't know what you have, and we're kind of seeing that as a pattern here, that like these
Hmm.
bench stats are a little bit inflated for week one because we don't know who the players are yet.
Right.
Um, so but again, none of this really plays, so it doesn't really matter. But it is interesting to see what he does with this bench moving forward. Um, his transactions this week, kind of a mixed bag here. Um, Nothing really crazy. He added Kyle Freeland for a great start, so
Yeah, he did.
that was nice. Otherwise, like, I'm not really sure.
Um, I'll just call out Colin fucking Holderman. He picks up this guy on Saturday, and like he's a former Mets farmhand, and now he's a reliever for the Pirates. And he picks him up, and he comes in on Sunday, and that's the relief appearance that kills everything.
Mm, okay.
So Colin fucking Holderman.
Wow. All right. He's on the Pirates. I could not
I
recall.
didn't either. I didn't
Okay.
know what had happened to him, but I mean, there he is. He's still wearing his Mets hat.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
he
Yeah.
came in Sunday. He came in Sunday in that game against the Pirate or against the White Sox and threw a perfect inning and gave him the relief appearance that won him the week.
Well, there you go. Well done there.
Yeah,
Well done, Christian.
yeah.
Um, for his key players this week, let's highlight Rafi Devers, who for his MVP, so 333 average, a 366 on base, 9 runs, 3 doubles, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, a walk, and 9 strikeouts. That's a very prototypical Rafi Devers week. Um,
Absolutely.
his least valuable player, let's highlight Colton Wong,
Oof.
who hits 074 on the week. He scores him 3 runs, 2 RBIs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, and an error. That's not what you want from Colton Wong.
No.
So we could be seeing some second base roulette with this team as well this year, potentially.
Yeah, I feel that coming, especially now that he dropped Javi Baez,
Right.
which
So you got to
also
play
relieves.
Edmund.
Yeah, so now you got to put Edmund at short. So now you have Wong at second, Fraser at second. Yeah, there could be some mixing and matching there.
Yeah. Um, on the pitching side, let's give the Cy Young to, man, that's tough. I'm not sure I agree with this Tanner Houck situation here, but I guess he did give him the 2 wins, so that's nice. Um, he was mediocre. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean he against Baltimore and Detroit, both 5 inning starts. They were okay. They
yeah,
weren't fantastic.
but I mean, you could also highlight that Freeland start, which was great. Um, Logan Gilbert was good for him this week. Um, 10 innings and 13 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Uh, Wheeler and Burns were not great this week, so we'll see what happens
No.
there. Um, but
And even Chris Flexen, like, he pitched 9 innings, and it's over one start and one relief appearance. But the start against Anaheim, I was watching that game, and he was pitching against Ohtani, and he outpitched Ohtani, but he got the loss.
Yeah, he held his own though. He definitely definitely traded some zeros there with Ohtani for a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is a good another like very good rotation on paper, but when you have Wheeler and Burns performing like they did, like that hurts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the Cy Yuck was Corbin Burns there.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, but the 9 innings, the loss, 2 home runs, 5 walks and 6 strikeouts is just
yeah.
So
and I gosh, for his sake, I hope he turns it around. But I mean, that'd be terrible, especially after what happened with Burns in the offseason with his arbitration deal and everything like that. He needs to like get it together.
Yeah, and look, like I don't necessarily want to go on this tangent, but my brother and I have been talking a lot about how pitchers are just not very good right now. And I think there's still adjustment to the pitch clock happening. Like we're seeing Edward Cabrera walk 14 guys in a week. We're seeing Jack Flaherty walk 14 guys in a week. We're seeing Domingo Germán unable to find the strike zone. Clark Schmidt, like we're seeing guys that are typically like control pitchers that are, I think that something is setting them off maybe because of that countdown.
Between the pitch clock and having to know how many disengagements you've had, and there are a lot more to think about for a pitcher than
the base running.
Yep. A lot more to think about than there was just a year ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I didn't put a lot of stake into starting pitching in the draft, but at the same time, like it's coming back to bite me a bit. But like, I do feel like starting pitching is just less reliable across the board right now.
Yeah. And that's what makes the real good ones that much more valuable.
Yeah. All right. Last matchup. You ready?
Let's do it. All right. That's going to be Bobby Russo taking a 11-9.
Yeah, that's an 11-9 victory. It's a nice close one there. But 11-9 over Mike Sherman. Class A Freed Falling, I guess is the name. You are muted here, Jason. That's why I was talking over you.
How about now? All right, let's try that again. So, yeah, this was a fun one to watch. Kind of like you match up with your brother. Like I felt like this was this was a little bit different actually, because Sherman held the lead for like the entire week until Sunday. Like everything just flipped on its head on Sunday, and Bobby came out of nowhere. I honestly you never count Bobby out, but it didn't look good for him. And then all of a sudden on Sunday he benched all of his hitters except for TJ Friedel, which I don't know why he was the one to stay in the lineup. But it worked. It worked. He ended up winning the week by 11 strikeouts. He had 11 strikeouts on the bench on Sunday.
Damn.
So yeah. So like it worked perfectly, and he ended up winning the week.
Good call.
Yeah. Close categories for Bobby. He wins by 3 steals. He wins by 1 error. Wins by 007 on the average. 1 loss and 1 relief appearance. Sherman wins by 3 doubles, 3 homers allowed by a pitcher, and 0.13 on the ERA. They tied with 3 saves. We'll start with Bobby, who won the week. On the bench, he goes 6 for 25, which is a nice 240 average. 3 runs, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. I didn't count the Sunday stats that he benched because he benched everybody except for Friedel. So that's just up until Saturday. But a great bench week. None of it played. It was just a really, it ended up being a good week for him. Again, it was just so fun to watch because like he was losing, and at one point he was losing big. He was down 13-6 at one point, 12-8, and then he ends up winning 11-9. It's just absolutely real good magic.
Yeah, and the no errors here is pretty wild as well for an entire week, an entire long week.
Yeah, a long week to not make a single error is impressive, and he really didn't like change a lot of his offensive players. And I'll hit on his ads. He did pick up he picked up Aaron Savali, who I was looking at, and he and now he's on the IL, but he had a great start against the Mariners, which I was afraid of, so I didn't touch him, but that was a good ad. He also, that same day, he also added Justin Steele, who had a great start against the Brewers. So
I'm so mad about that ad.
So both of those worked out perfectly for him.
Yeah.
He did add Brandon Marsh during the week, and that day he was a late scratch with an injury, but he ended up being fine. Otherwise, nothing really to write home about for his ads. He only used 7, but they worked. They worked for him.
He did add your Bay.
Yes, Ji Hwan Bei. He did add him, and the funny thing is, like, he ended up dropping him, but he missed. I think he missed a home run from him on the bench one day, or he missed. It was on the 4th. Take a look real quick, because I do remember seeing that going. Yeah, he had a home run from him on the bench, but like. And again, like, I don't know how the schedule worked out, but like, he had Melendez not in the lineup. You could move Friedel to right field and put him in the utility spot, But this guy's a tough guy to own, this Bay, because like he's not playing every day. He's playing, I guess, mostly every day, but like I feel like they're moving him around, so it may be a while until he gets a position that's not utility.
Yeah, true.
We'll hit on his key players for Bobby. The MVP is, of course, going to be Jose Ramirez. 297 average, a 395 on base, 5 runs, 4 doubles, the triple. No home runs, but 4 RBIs, 2 steals, 6 walks, and 4 strikeouts. The no home runs is a little alarming, but the rest of the week was just what you're going to get from Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. But he should be worried about Christian Walker, who scored 1 run the entire week. And that 1 run, he drove himself in with his only home run. 3 RBIs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, a 182 average, and a 222 on base. That's not good. And this is a guy who,
because the Diamondbacks were scoring a ton of runs at the end of the week.
Yeah, and he I mean, there was a lot of expectations coming in for the Diamondbacks, and especially Christian Walker after a big year last year. Hopefully, this is just just getting back into the swing of things, and he figures it out, because a full season of that is not going to be good.
Right.
I also wanted to highlight your friend Volpe here. I almost named him the least valuable player, but he at least chipped in 3 steals, which was nice. But what are you seeing from Volpe as a Yankee knowledge guy?
I mean, I think he's pressing a little bit. He is good defensively. He's got an absolute cannon for an arm. And when he gets on the base paths, he is a threat to steal every time he's on base. Obviously, we just want to see some of that raw power we saw in the minors, but it's week 2 of his first major league season of baseball. So like, let's cut him some slack. I don't think he's in any danger of losing his job here.
Okay. We'll see what happens. I mean, you don't want it to be the comparison, but like, I'm thinking, is this like a Spencer Torkelson kind of deal? Maybe not. But we'll see how it goes.
Right.
On the pitching side, Cy Young, I'm giving to Justin Steele. 12 innings, a win, 5 walks, 11 strikeouts, a .75 ERA, a 1 WHIP. He picked this guy up off the free agent list, and he's just been outstanding these 2 starts against the Brewers and the Rangers, like 2 decent offenses, and he just held them both down.
Yep. He was an absolute steal.
Yep. I see what you did there. Just in case anybody else missed it. The Cy Young, I gotta give it to Sir Anthony Dominguez. This guy is awful. 4 innings, a loss, a homer, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, a 15.75 ERA, a 2.75 WHIP over 5 relief appearances. This is supposed to be part of that 4-headed closer monster in Philadelphia, and he's just been awful. They've all been awful, actually. So
Kimbrel's been bad too.
Yeah, I think Alvarado is the only one that's actually pitched well.
Yes.
Also, Scott McWhatever with his 11.57. Magoo? Okay, Magoo. Scott Magoo with his Magooey 11.57 ERA and 2.14 WHIP. Pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Moving over to Mr. Sherman. For the week, he goes 21 for 78 on the bench. That's a 269 average. 10 runs, 5 doubles, 2 homers, 13 RBIs, 3 steals, 3 walks, 20 strikeouts, and 4 errors. The 3 steals is what would tie the category here. 2 of them came on one day, and actually it was the very first day on the 30th. He had Jorge Mateo on the bench with 2 steals.
Okay.
But again, this is what we talked about. Look, on the very first day of the week, you have 3 guys who are shortstop only.
Yeah. So
how do you know which one to pick? You're going to pick the World Series champion, Jeremy Pena, who went 1 for 4, and he did steal the base, but didn't steal 2 of them.
Right. And what's funny about this too is that Sherman stole 10 bases this week. I mean, okay, yeah. So he missed 3 of them, but you're gonna win that any other time,
right? Except when your opponent steals 13 bases, it's not fair. No. But yeah, otherwise, a good bench week. 20 strikeouts on the bench is nice. To not have that in your lineup, that's pretty good.
Well done.
He still lost the category, but again, he lost it because Bobby Sunday. It was really amazing what he did on Sunday.
Yeah.
His ads, he didn't really make many. He used 6, and one of them was for Christopher Morel, who sits in the NA spot. He added on the 6th. He added 2 Cardinals relievers, Packy Naughton and Andre Palante, and Packy was good until he left with an injury, and Palante was not good. And that same day he dropped this Blake Sable guy from the Giants, who has catcher left field eligibility. Well, that day he hit a home run and scored 2 runs. So,
good.
And then the Matt Brash, he picked up Matt Brash, who I would have, if I'd known that Andres Munoz was going on the IL, I would have picked up Matt Brash, but he picked him up before I could, but he ended up blowing the save. So, it was a very brash move.
Yes, it was. It was very brash.
His key players will highlight the MVP, which is Ronald Acuna. 10 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 5 steals. So half of his steals came from one guy.
Yeah.
6 walks, 7 strikeouts, a .310 average, and a .396 on base. Yeah, that's the 5 steals is amazing.
Yeah, I said it before the year started. This could be a 40-40 player here. And I stand by that.
He's on the way. Yeah, he's already got 5. So.
Yep.
Least valuable player, Oswaldo Cabrera. 1 run, a double, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, a 158 and a 200. Another Yankee. What are your thoughts of Cabrera?
Another guy who had an awesome spring, just like Volpe. He's a good guy for us to have because he can play a lot of positions, but I didn't think he was ever supposed to be like this dynamic hitter that he was in spring training. I think he's a really nice utility, like backup bench player, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's hard. That's a hard guy to have in fantasy because you never really know when he's going to play and how much
Yeah.
he's going to play.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucks. We got rid of Tyro Estrada and held on to some of these other guys, but it's all right. It's what
That
happens.
hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts. On the pitching side, yeah, the Cy Young, it was a toss up between Shohei Ohtani, of course, and Nick Lodolo, of course.
Of course.
Both of them 12 innings, a win. Nick Lodolo, 21 strikeouts in 2 starts.
Yeah.
He had 12 against the Phillies, like seven shutout innings. That's a great start against the Phillies on Saturday.
Yep.
And then Ohtani with a minuscule 0.75 ERA and a whip. So yeah, both these guys were incredible this week.
And Kodai Senga had a nice week.
He really did. And the Mets needed that more than ever. So great week from him. He had a lot of strikeouts. Look, even Jose Barrios, who pitched horrible, like at least had 12 strikeouts, and he is a Cy Young. 9 2/3, 2 losses, a homer, 3 walks, 12 strikeouts, and 11.17 ERA, and 1.86 WHIP. But like at least he's getting the strikeouts. Like
I guess.
That's like the starts I had on Sunday, where it's like they all got lit up. I just needed strikeouts, and that's what at this point you're getting from Barrios is like, okay, get lit up, but at least give me strikeouts. And he did get 7 strikeouts that first game against the Royals, so like,
yeah,
something.
I guess, but you also give up a ton of runs to the Royals somehow.
Yeah. I also give a shout out to Trevor May and his 7.36 ERA and 7 walks in 3 2/3 innings.
Oof.
But again, he walked away with 2 wins and a loss. Like, you walk 7 guys, but you get 2 wins. Baseball is a funny game.
Yeah, it's weird. It is the weirdest game ever.
Yeah. All right. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, no, it was an interesting one. I don't really know what to make of these teams yet, I guess, is my big takeaway from this matchup. Like Bobby is once again in 8th place. He is in the Bob spot. Holding strong.
That didn't take long.
Yeah, it did not take long. And he had a very sort of mixed bag week here, where usually when you think of a Bobby Russo team, you think of power, and then the pitching is secondary, and he can get a couple of arms in there, but he didn't show a lot of power this week. He showed some of those fringe offensive stats and focused a bit more on his pitching staff. So it's just a little bizarre, I guess. And then Mike Sherman is, I just don't know what to make of the team yet. I just think it's too early.
Yeah. And there was a lot of players I was looking at a lot of the matchups this week, and there were a lot of times where players were out of the lineup and they could have switched them out for another player who was playing, and it didn't happen. And there was time to do it. And I don't know if it's just because it was a long week and people were just occupied with other things. But I noticed that in a lot of matchups where there were guys, they could have made the move and they didn't. And whether it came back to bite them or not, I don't know. But it was just an interesting thing to notice in week 1 and see how that translates going forward.
Yeah, is that kind of your big takeaway from week 1?
I think so, because it wasn't even just the new guys; it was experienced guys even Mike Sherman. There was a day where he had Wisdom on the bench, and the White Sox were off, and the whole team was off, and he could have got Wisdom into the lineup, and he didn't. So things like that. So it's something to watch for. To see how that shapes up going forward.
Yeah, agreed. My big takeaway from the week is is I mentioned it before, but it's these starting pitchers, like, or pitching in general. It's just fallen across the board. Those number of reliable pitchers is just like completely diminished. And I hope that it's something that pitchers that wind up adjusting to. The lack of the shift, the extra base runners, the steal threat, the pitch clock. It's just so much for them to like wrap their heads around.
And
that
especially like relievers, like you relievers come in for one inning, right? Like, so they have no time to adjust. Like, at least starting pitcher, like, they're going to be out there for 3, 4, 5 innings. They can, maybe figure it out. But yeah, the relievers are it's tough.
Yeah, the walks are just like out of control right now from pitching. So we'll see if that levels out. Do you want to talk about some of the managers here?
Yeah. Let's do some manager of the week. Who's your number 3?
My number 3 manager of the week is gonna go to. Oh, I had it before. Hold on. Improvise for me.
So what a great week this was.
Wow, thank you so much for that. That really bought me some time.
This is me improvising.
Yes. All right. My number 3 manager of the week I'm gonna give to Ari. For taking down Joe. It's a matchup that we did not cover. But he built his team differently this year, and he took down a perennial champion like Joe, and did it in pretty solid fashion there. So I'm going to give it to Ari.
Yeah, you're right. He did build it differently, and it worked. He made it work the way he's supposed to. So that's great job. I think my number 3, I'm gonna go. There's a lot of options here. I love what Bobby did on Sunday, so I'm gonna go with Bobby from my number 3 to flip that. He was down all week, and then to come back on Sunday, bench his entire lineup except for one guy, and it worked out perfectly. So good job, Bobby.
Yeah, very good job. My number 2, I'm gonna give to my opponent this week. I gotta tip my hat to Kostas, who played a hell of a week. At the beginning, he had contacted me. He was a little bit panicked because I came out really strong at the start of the matchup. And all he did was chip away, and he made some really savvy moves, and dealt with some, rough performances from Gallen and Manoah, and Finnegan, and all he did was improve all week. And I felt like Freddie Freeman and JD Martinez, like that Dodgers duo plus the Diamondbacks duo of Rojas and McCarthy, and the Yankees duo of LeMahieu and Stanton.
Yep.
Those 3 duos just like chipped away and like were always on base. And he did a great job of rotating his players in and out. So hats off to Kostas.
Yeah. Yeah, he's tough. Yeah, there's so many good ones. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give my number 2 to. I'm gonna give it to Henry Collins.
Nice.
Man came in and knew the league and took down Josh, took down your brother, a veteran of this league, and he didn't make a ton of moves, but the moves he made worked for him. And he really didn't need to do a whole lot, but he made it work. It was a great matchup, and he pulled out on top. So hats off to Henry Collins. You're my number 2.
Nice.
Who's your number 1?
I gotta give it to my buddy Matt Losi. I'm gonna give it to him, not necessarily because I think he made a ton of moves, because he didn't, but because he spent all season in last place last year. And good for Matt Losi coming out, getting a 16-4 win in week 1 and sitting atop the standings of the bigs, even if it's 1 week. I got to tip my hat to him. And he put together a nice team here, and he's fighting off some injuries here. He just lost O'Neal Cruz for months, maybe even the whole season. Marte is a little banged up, but look what look what he did to Frank, who's a stellar manager, you know?
I'm giving him the number one too, and he led the entire week. He never didn't lead Frank. So and the lead just got bigger and bigger, and to down, he quadrupled him up. I mean, and this is Frank. This is not some slouchy player. It's Frank. So kudos to you. Enjoy first place after being in last place all year last year. Enjoy it and hang on to it the best you can.
Yeah, we're rooting for you, Matt.
Yeah.
All right, Jason.
All right. Well, that was cool. Thanks for
that was cool.
Thanks for doing this for me tonight.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun getting back into the swing of things here. I like that we're only doing 4 matchups and our other co-hosts are doing the other 4. So if you guys like what you heard tonight and you want to hear the breakdown of the other 4 matchups, tune into part 2 to hear Joe and Ben.
And let us know who you like better.
Vote for us, please. AAA squad,
That's right. We're keeping it real here. So guys, thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week to recap week 2 of the Bigs 2023 season. Until then, it's been fun.
And it's been real.
And it's always real fun in the Bigs. We'll see you next time. Bye guys.